The large majority of traded medicinal herb species are still collected from the wild. With many people dependent on herb collection for their livelihoods, the growing global demand for herbal products presents a valuable opportunity to generate additional income in rural areas. Yet it can also present a serious challenge, as growing numbers of medicinal plant species are becoming threatened due to overexploitation. If rural communities are to benefit from the opportunities in the herbal industry, then it is vital that efforts are made to collect herbs in a manner that does not damage the plant's ability to regenerate every year. Only in this way, if the plants are collected sustainably, will these livelihood opportunities continue to exist for future generations. Collection of any wild plant species should always be carried out in adherence with local, national and international regulations, and should respect the traditional beliefs and customs of the area. If a collection permit is required, it should be obtained prior to harvesting any plants from the wild. If you are unsure of the regulations, or which local species may be rare or endangered, seek guidance from the concerned authorities. Before setting out for collection, a certain amount of planning is required. The herbs will need to be harvested using appropriate tools, which should be stored in a clean location and where necessary sharpened before use. The herbs will need to be packed into clean sacks. If they are being reused, there should be no traces of the material that was in the sack before. Sacks that have previously been used to store agrochemicals should never be used to store herbs. Details of the harvest will need to be documented. This can be done in a diary or by attaching labels, all of which need to be prepared and packed before setting off for collection. Medicinal plants should be collected at the correct time of year to ensure maximum levels of medicinal properties according to the intended use of the plant and to maximize the plant's ability to regenerate after harvest. This will vary from species to species. Bilva fruits, for example, should be harvested before they have fully ripened. Himalayan aconite should be collected only after the seeds have ripened. And most bark species, such as Arjuna, should be harvested during the winter months. In many cases, the knowledge of correct harvest times will have been passed down from generation to generation. If you are uncertain about the correct collection time, seek guidance from a local expert. The plant should always be collected in areas that are far from any potential sources of contamination, such as roads, paths and villages. The collection site should also be chosen according to the availability of the target species, making sure that the plant population is large enough for the collection to be sustainable, and that any commercial collection does not have a negative impact on the availability of the plants for local use. In India, it is a traditional practice for Vaidyas, or Ayurvedic physicians, to express reverence and gratitude towards the medicinal plants before collection. This is a practice derived from the Hindu tradition, yet the principle of collecting herbs with an attitude of respect is key in managing herbal biodiversity in a responsible manner and applies to all collectors regardless of culture or religion. The collectors here are harvesting wild Himalayan oregano. The methods used for sustainable collection of oregano depend on whether the plant has produced seeds yet or not. If the plant is still in flower or the seeds are not yet mature, then only 70% of the plants should be collected. The remaining 30%, which ideally should be the most healthy of the plants, should be left to go to seed. If the plants have started to produce seeds, then all the plants can be collected and the seeds scattered randomly in the surrounding area. In this way, the plants will regenerate every year and provide a continuous supply of oregano and a regular source of income to the collectors. These collectors have come to harvest Himalayan iris roots. Medicinal plant species that are harvested for their underground parts are normally the most vulnerable, as when the entire root system is dug out of the ground, the plant is left with little chance of regeneration. A sustainable method for collecting iris roots is demonstrated here. The main portion of the rhizome is harvested and placed in a clean sack. Then, leaving a few inches at the bottom, all the leaves are cut off and the remaining rootstock is replanted. In this way, providing there is sufficient moisture in the soil, the plants will regenerate and the rhizomes will grow back to their original size within a year or two. Details of the harvest should be recorded for future reference. The collectors here have a printed label, which they fill in and attach to the sack so that the plant material can be traced back to its source when it reaches its final destination. For some species, or in places where there is less soil moisture, instead of uprooting the entire plant, the underground parts can be harvested by removing the roots from one side only. In this way, half the root system is left undisturbed, making it easier for the plant to regenerate. These collectors have come to harvest the bark of a tree called Kutuja. Sacks are laid around the base of the tree to catch the harvested bark as it falls. A thin strip of bark is removed from one side, taking care to minimize harm to the tree. It is extremely important that you never cut a strip all the way around the trunk, as this will cause the tree to die. It will take approximately 3 years for the bark to grow back, and until the previous harvest has completely regenerated, this tree should not be harvested again. The harvested bark pieces are collected from the base of the tree and placed in a clean container, then inspected and any substandard material removed. Finally, the bark is packed, labelled and transported as quickly as possible to its next destination for processing.